Hi guys, so today let's talk about applying to jobs. So when it comes to applying to jobs, there's many ways to go about it. Obviously, the company site is the number one place you wanna try first, which is in the talent acquisition role, HR world. I should say it is what we consider the ATS system, which is an applicant tracking system. So for the most part, about 95% of companies that are in business do have an ATS system. And this is a great way to be able to keep track of the candidates, the way they are applying, how many times they're applying. I have mentioned this the other day in one of my conversations. So if you apply more than once to a job, that's another way that a recruiter can look at it and be like, hey, or a hire manager, right? So sometimes hire managers do have access to the ATS system, and they are able to look at your history and be able to disposition you. So when I say disposition, I mean reject you. And this is why you later or immediately get a response, an automated response, which is thank you for applying or what have you. That's even if you do get one. But again, applying to this ATS system is the number one thing that you should do. You should always apply there because of the fact that whenever you apply to this, you want to make sure that everything is solid on your end. When I say that, I mean you want to make sure that you're putting as much as information as possible to make sure to trigger or contact, right? Don't fill out if the application is asking for references for this and for that, for things that you probably feel like, hey, do I really want to do all that? Um, I would suggest maybe hold on. If they reach out to talk to you, then you can do all that, right? If the system doesn't allow you to do it. But the thing about it is that if you are looking for a job, which is pretty much the majority of Americans now, and probably even this is a global pandemic in this sense, right? For people seeking jobs, apply. But one of the things you need to understand is when you apply to the systems from the company, it is good for you to notate what companies you're applying to. If you're not able, because you're not using LinkedIn, or whenever you're applying, make sure that you can reference it back, because some companies won't state their name whenever they reject you or when you apply, right? It will state sometimes some other name. So that for the most part they do put their company name, but sometimes I've seen it where thank you for applying and it's a different company name or something and different. So just be aware of that. I would notate who you're applying to. The reason why I'm telling you this is because once the recruiter initiates a phone call with you, you want to make sure you can go back and reference your application, right? And not sound like, hey, you don't know where you've been applying. I mean, come on. I know we've been applying to a lot of jobs, but at least you want to at least have some type of feedback as far as when if you did apply to the company. But now, sometimes you'll be surprised. They'll call you and they'll be like, "Hey, thank you for applying. I'm calling you," and then it's like, "Hey, can you tell me when I applied?" And sometimes I've seen it where it happens where I myself reached out to candidates and it's like, "No, I haven't applied. So then why do I have your info here?" They don't remember, so that's a surprise. I know. So the talent acquisition world is actually very interesting and funny in that part, because you gotta keep it going, because of the fact that when those things happen, it's like, wait a minute, how did this happen, right? But anyway, that does happen. Sometimes candidates forget that they applied, and also for the most part, um, they could have been applying, right, to another uh, medium. When I say that, I mean LinkedIn, ZipRecruiter, Indeed, Career Builder. You know, for the most part, those are the main ones that people apply to. Monster used to be pretty big, but I hardly see Monster. And I know there's a lot of other um, you know, platforms that you can use to apply. But I will tell you that when you do apply to LinkedIn, LinkedIn is incredible on letting you know, and this is what I love about it. It'll, you know, what dates you applied, one company you applied, you know, did they look at your resume, or um, you know, certain things like that. So I like that because you can organize yourself a lot better and be able to kind of follow up in a better sense. So I've had, you know, a recruiter follow up with me on my application, and I'm like, oh well, okay, let me look it up. Let me look it up, and I'll look it up, and then I'll see, okay, what company it is from. And so in that sense, again, LinkedIn is a great tool for you to organize yourself with. Now, remember, when you apply on LinkedIn, you're not applying to the company's site. The company, you're not actually doing the application with the company. Does that make sense? So again, that's completely different, right? Now, it'll alert the company that you did apply, but that does not necessarily mean that you applied on the website and you've filled out an actual application, right? For the most part, what I do like, the great tool that LinkedIn has, is easy apply, right? All you need to do is submit your resume, and you know, and see if you know you're going to get a response. But I love that tool because to fill out an application, I've been filling out applications for 2 hours for just per one resume, excuse me, for one application. And it's like, what is going on? You know, you're being asked all these questions, and you know, it's like, you know, you kind of think about it, it's like, wow, is this really you know, that lengthy? And for the most part, yes. But I do know, and from what at least I've seen, I know that at least I've been an advocate for letting HR know, hey, we should have a more seamless application process. This process is very lengthy. So I do understand that most of my colleagues as well are talking about that, because if they wouldn't, now you wouldn't be seeing, because lately what I've been seeing a lot is a lot of companies really just, you know, for the most part, right, trying to stray away from having the candidate apply for a full application, right? When you can just submit a few details, right, that they really need from your, or no, right? And if they want to consider you once they see those details, then they can pursue you to actually apply, right, and do the actual application on the website. But the other thing that, with another good tool to use is Indeed. Now, Indeed is alive as it gets, right? LinkedIn and Indeed are very great, especially if you're a professional, because Indeed will have you pretty much send the application immediately to the company and alerting them, and those are actually, when I say live jobs, I mean they're actually will hire you, because they're not like a recycle job, as I mentioned before, where they're kind of like just is sitting there on hold or on standby until they make a decision for the role, or they could be already considering a candidate, right? And so sometimes they might want to have a backup person, right? So that's why they have not yet closed the job. So again, that is a great tool. So, and one of the other things that I mentioned in my other video was that when you do apply for Indeed, you will be able to see who you applied, as well as LinkedIn, and it gives you the dates. But I would say that LinkedIn is better at handling their details, right? Organizing it. They gave you like the full gist of the company. I mean, it's a real great tool, because you get to actually click on the company and learn more details about the company. You get to, and Indeed does have that, but Indeed does not what is it called, it doesn't look as well aesthetically that's the word I'm looking for. So aesthetically, Indeed is not well presented right as LinkedIn. So I love LinkedIn for those reasons. But again, a good tool to do is just do the easy apply if you need to. If you don't want to fill out a lot of applications. Now again, you can do a mix. That's what I've done, to do a mix of easy apply and do your regular applications, because to sit there and fill out application after application, because still companies are still doing it the old way, where it's like, hey, we're asking you this and we're asking you that, so what did you do here, what did you do that? So it's like and for the most part, as I mentioned in my resume too, discussion that I had on my video, remember, you should technically only put 10 years of experience. That is actually what's actually looked out for, nothing more than that, because it's just LinkedIn, and companies don't really need to be here looking at all that, because what really is their priority should be, what is your history for the past 10 years. Some of you guys might have just 5 years. In my case, I have, almost, obviously I've been working for a while. So I have a lot of experience, but in the talent acquisition world in HR, I do have 10 plus years. But so I just want to recommend you guys do that. So Indeed is another great tool. And the other one, I'm trying to think, ZipRecruiter. So ZipRecruiter has a mix. And I know you have Dice, which is a little bit more for IT. And then you have your Glassdoor. I tried using that and I don't really find it useful. I really find it a little bit more difficult to use it. But yeah, ZipRecruiter has a mix of professional and non-professional roles. So that's what I like about ZipRecruiter. And it's really easy tool to use. Monster, it's been years that I've ever used Monster, and it's very it still exists, but it's not popular as Indeed and LinkedIn. The way that I found jobs has been through either ZipRecruiter or Indeed. So I just wanted to share that with you. So I guess my video today won't be that long. I just wanted to kind of like pass that with you guys as far as the applying to companies and these platforms that are around, and the little kind of like basics that go into it. But hey guys, well, hopefully you guys have a great Friday, because it is Friday. So and I don't know if I'm gonna post on the weekend, so but I might. But you guys have a great Friday. Thanks. Bye.